All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You guys vote.
Okay, it is unanimous. Even our ex officio members.
Yeah, let's just have it.
That's great. It's unanimous, really. Okay, now we're going on to item number 3. Looking for any citizen comments for items not on the agenda. Please state your name and address and...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Johnson, 2694 Redford Court West. And I appreciate the opportunity to address you, and I thank you for your service to downtown. I was going through some papers in my den, and I found something that reminded me of something important, and I wanted to share it with you. And that's the ULI report from September of 2014, the vision statement in that report, and the strategy. And it includes the following statements. The city must reach out to the downtown waterfront and into the bay itself to create activities in and on the water. And then attracting tourists downtown is not enough to change the trajectory of the study area. Instead, it must become a vibrant and successful place in its own right, serving its own citizens. And in essence, I believe that's the purpose of the Development Board in addressing and serving the people that are paying taxes into your body. So I thought I'd bring these along. I have copies for the group if you'd like to take a look at them at your leisure. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you for the reminder. It needs to be brought to our attention from time to time. That study we were all very active working on it, and the momentum on it seems to have declined significantly with changes that have taken place. So it's possibly time to bring that back to life and put some more force behind it. Any other comments on that? Okay, let's move on. Number 4, new business items. We're looking for a motion to adopt the January 2019 financial statement for filing.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. Lena seconds. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Item number 4.2, post-event report on the Achieva Boxcar Rally. I'd like to welcome Chelsea to the podium. Is she here? I thought I saw her. Okay. I believe we can do that. We'll wait till she returns. Okay, let's move on to item 4.3. We have, we're looking for a motion to approve the letter to the Board of County Commissioners regarding the move from downtown. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that letter? It's in your packet. Hi, Ray. So I'm looking first for a motion on whether to approve this letter.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Very good. Now, is there any discussion on this? Go ahead. Yes.
I read it, and as it stands today, the county is in the process, they are going through the process of a study to determine if it's in their benefit to do a joint facility with the city of Clearwater in downtown. Mm-hmm. That study is not done. They've made no commitment either way. And in the last paragraph, it says, Clearwater DDB urges Pinellas County leaders to reconsider this decision. They have not made any decision yet. So I'm wondering if this letter doesn't jump the gun a little bit. We're jumping the gun. I don't have a problem sending them a letter urging them to, continue with the study and urging them to stay in downtown and work with the city. I think that's wonderful. But they have made no decision and no commitment to not do the joint facility yet. So I'm just thinking, the verbiage might be a little bit out ahead of itself.
That's a relevant point. Do you know if the decision has been made to leave the existing facilities?
No.
So even that decision?
They have not made that
So
decision.
there is no decision?
There is no decision yet.
So then you're correct that the wording is a bit premature? Okay, so I propose that we revise that to reflect that. Would we have a motion to approve that letter as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And is there any additional discussion or comments from anyone on the board? Okay, that sounds all right?
Yep.
Very good. I think it's important that that the county facilities and their employees remain in our downtown district. It's an important economic impact, and it keeps Clearwater, downtown Clearwater, the county seat, which is important to us. So for those reasons, I think it's worth validating in any way, any support we can offer the county to go in that direction. Okay, so we can, with your permission, we will send out that letter with that amendment in it. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. It is unanimous. Let's move on. Okay, we'll go back to Chelsea now. And we're going to have the Achieva Boxcar Rally report. Welcome,
Hi, everyone.
How you
Nice
doing?
to see you again. I'm reporting on the 2018 Boxcar Rally that occurred in October, which was our ninth annual event. I'm falling back a couple years. We had 61 cars total this year, and that was 27 of the All-American Soapbox Derby style cars, the kit cars, and 34 of the homemade cars. So actually more homemade than kit cars, which I thought was pretty neat. Total race classes entered among all of those cars was 150. Each car gets 2 heats per race class entered, so that's 300 heats raced down the Cleveland Street Hill on that day. We once again had the car return system in partnership with the fire department, who was a really helpful partner in that the last 2 years, making it easier on the racers. I'm sure you can testify to that. And we were able to provide $25,000 in classroom grants in Pinellas County schools once again. So overall, a wonderful day, very smooth, stayed on schedule pretty closely overall, which was one of our main goals this year. And we look forward to a 10th anniversary event in 2019. So are there any questions?
You think you've maxed out in terms of the number of cars you can have? That sounds like 300 heat sounds like a lot of racing.
It is, and we've had this conversation a lot of how much we can really balance in one day and still make it enjoyable. We've had suggestions from some of the racers to make it a weekend-long event, but I don't see that happening in the near future. We did make some changes last year to manage how many race classes a car can enter, because in the past we didn't limit that, and some were entering 5 race classes with the same car, so that adds a lot to the number of classes. So we limited it now to 3. So we've done a couple things to manage that, but still be able to have more cars and more teams enter without maxing out just yet. So, but that's definitely an ongoing discussion.
Chelsea, I just would like to thank you and congratulate you on you and your team do an outstanding job every year and have consistently now for 9 years.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Well, we love your partnership. We value very much and appreciate you. And love the space, love this area.
It's speaking for me, it's one of the favorite events that I have that we sponsor, and part of it is due to the outstanding organization that you put behind it. It just comes off flawlessly every year.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear.
Yeah. Anyone else?
It is a great event. I guess my question is, with the looking long range as far as Imagine Clearwater and everything else, not sure that course is going to be available in the future. Do we have an alternative location for it?
I share a lot of questions with that too, because as I understand it, there will be a median space on Cleveland Street. Is that still correct?
I'm not exactly sure.
Last
The
thing
final
is-
design has not been
Okay.
etched in stone, but because I'm just wondering, I would think possibly the east end of Cleveland Street past Nature's Food Patch, where Cleveland goes down, it takes another downhill by the old phone company building. That could, because there's, that may be able to accommodate it if we lose this.
Right. And we're definitely
From
trying to
Highland
consider
down to the-
alternatives too.
No, from, well, yeah, I guess you could start from Highland and come towards town, or you could do it starting at about Nature's Food Patch or just east of it and go down the hill towards before it curves to the right.
east.
Heading east.
I'll have to look at that. I
Either
can't recall
place-
the incline there. We were looking also at Pierce Street and Drew Street, but I'm not sure either offers enough incline. Cleveland Street Hill just really is perfect. So obviously without that hill, our gravity power racing really won't be able to occur. So
Gravity's important.
unless I get permission to close the causeway or something and race there, I'm always open to suggestions for alternatives in the event that we can't have Cleveland Street. So
Well, thank you for your update.
thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Appreciate
you for
it.
what you do with the funds that you raise.
Thank you.
That's the important thing.
Yep, that's the most important part.
Okay, let's move on to item number 4. We have CRA updates. I guess Ann will give us the updates. The most important one being about the CRA director.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm trying to get my. Amanda Thompson, our director, did have her baby. Baby Luke was born on the 23rd at 4:45 a.m., and I do have pictures if anyone would like to see them. I have permission to share. He's adorable. He has a head full of dark hair, and mommy, dad, and baby are doing well.
That's fantastic.
So that was my first item of business. The CRA at their February 19th meeting approved 4 grants, 4 tenant grants. They were for Vector Arcade Bar, Pour Yours, Black Brick Tavern and Kitchen, and Tequilas. So that happened, and we thank the CRA for their participation in that. I do have, as you know, the Harborview Center is coming down.
Yay.
And the city of Clearwater is going to host a celebration in preparation for the demolition. And the community event will be held from 5 to 10 on March 29th in conjunction with Blast Friday. And it's outside the Harborview Center, and a ceremony with Mayor Creticus and our council members and city staff will be at 5 p.m. So please mark your calendar. And this is going to mark the final phase of the Harborview Center.
What was the date again?
March 29th, it's a Friday night, and it's the same night as Blast Friday. So, let's see. Imagine Clearwater. Micah Maxwell was sorry he was unable to be here today. He was already scheduled for a conference, but I have an update from him. We're halfway through the assessment to determine the size of the bandshell that meets the needs of our regional market and what the financial impact of the bandshell would be. There was a workshop on February 25th, and Web Management Services reported back that based on their research, the market of bandshell, based on the research of the market, the bandshell, which includes 2,000 to 3,000 removable seats under a temporary or retractable covering, is consistent with the market demand. So the council directed Webb to review the financial impact of the bandshell over the next few weeks, and there's going to be an April 1st workshop planned to discuss that financial information. I do not have a time for you. And parallel to that, our design consultant, Stantec, is working to identify the cost associated with the temporary or retractable covering. So that's for your information. And I also have some handouts of the information about a narrative that I can provide to you as well from Micah. Let's see, I sent a little while ago, I sent information about an event that we're going to be holding this Saturday. And this is, we're looking for volunteers to assist us and assist a professional artist with a ground mural at a pop-up park at the old City Hall parking lot. And it's going to be on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Beth Warmath, who's a Clearwater resident and a recognized muralist. She's going to lead the artwork and will assist the volunteers. So we're asking volunteers of all ages, and no art experience is necessary, to come to Old City Hall parking lot, and paint and brushes will be provided. So that's all I have for the CRA update at this time.
A question, do you have any information, when they say 2,000 to 3,000 removable seats, do we have any idea what kind of seating that is? It's not like the folding plastic chairs, but what is it?
I do not have that information.
Okay. Does anyone know?
Well, we haven't approved anything yet, but I have seen, it's basically like theater type seating, like but it's like sections. Each section is like 3 or 4 chairs, and they slide onto the they slide onto a rail that's at or just below ground level, and they just slide in. They go together almost like Legos, and then when they're not in use, just take them out, and you have to take them out and store them, but they are removable, quote unquote. So, but they're not just individual folding chairs. No, right. They'd have a chair back and be a little bit nicer.
We had to change the charter in 2015 to allow for removable seating. Any kind of fixed seating was not allowed.
It's still not allowed, right?
Yeah, so these will be fixed, but they'll be removable. They could take them out. And I haven't seen any kind of details. I've been asking for it, but I haven't seen any details on how they're going to do that. Because if they take them out, we don't want a trip hazard of anything sticking in the ground that, people will be able to.
Right. But even with the referendum that allows the removable seating, we still can't put those chairs there and leave them there for weeks and weeks, right? I think that's...
I'm not sure if there's anything in the, and Bill, you can help us out too. I'm not sure that there's anything that specifies length of time they're allowed to sit there before they get taken out.
But they're not, I think permanent is not allowed.
Permanent is not allowed, but temporary can be defined by many things.
Right.
We haven't drilled down to that kind of specific yet. So, and I would add to what Ann said a couple things. The demolition of the Harbor View, the demolition is going to be a piece by piece demolition. There's not going to be any explosion. There's not going to be any wrecking balls. The structure itself, they want to make sure that as they dismantle it, basically, that it doesn't do any damage to the Osceola and Cleveland Street itself. That they're afraid that any explosions or percussion would create some other hazards and problems. So it's going to be a piece by piece dismantling of that building, even overall. And the April 1st council meeting for Imagine Clearwater, specifically for Imagine Clearwater, is tentatively scheduled for April 1st from 2 in the afternoon till 4. So.
Any other? Ray?
That black brick approval, does that mean it's going to open?
Yes.
Oh, good.
To receive the grant, they have to open by June.
Good.
Great. Any other comments, questions?
I did think of one other thing.
Sure.
We have Park and Ride that's taking place, and city officials are encouraging people that want to go to the beach to park in downtown Clearwater, and I'm encouraging them to eat and drink here too, at our restaurants and bars and shops. And then they can take also the Clearwater ferry. But now through April 30th, they can park downtown and take a free trolley over to the beach.
Excellent.
More information is at pst.net/springbreak.
Very good. So we'll move on to item 4.5. This should be the most significant agenda item for this meeting, and I encourage everyone to participate with their comments and discussion. And do you want to start it?
Sure. As the board had worked on their budget last year and had conversations about events, Amanda and I, we talked, and then we've talked to different board members, and I thought we should come up with a strategy, or the board could consider, how they want to fund events this year. So the board has done the same thing from 2011 till the present time. They submitted, organizations submitted funding requests, and the board considered those. Sometimes they were funded at the full amount, other times, a portion. They've done this with the Clearwater Main Street program. Paris wasn't aware that the board funded the Pet Festival for 6 years. We had an art stroll for 7 years, and the Clearwater Main Street program coordinated that. The board funded promotions with merchants during the streetscape construction, and there was high participation in that. And then the board also funded the signature events that they usually fund. Blast Friday, Jazz Holiday, Super Boat, Miracle on Cleveland Street, Fun and Sun. The Clearwater Farmers Market was funded by the board. Pierce Street Market, Sea Blues, Clearwater Celebrates America. So, and then the current Merchant Association, they also were funded for different events, such as Downtown Funk and sidewalk sales and art walks and events that complemented Blast Friday. And during all of these events, they brought people downtown, but sometimes they didn't produce the outcome because the people came to the events, such as at Coachman Park, and they went to the events and they didn't come back downtown. And the board then gave more priority to board receiving the organization's applications for those that kept the events on Cleveland Street. So last year, the board seemed to be more interested in having the organizations provide a return on investment. What was the return on the investment? And I looked at, before I made my recommendation that Amanda, looked at as well, the primary purpose of the DDB is to promote, facilitate, and support events, activities that sustain, promote, and advance downtown revitalization. So we are recommending a blended approach. We think you should keep funding the signature events, and of course this is a board decision, and then maybe fund a variety of events that are provided by merchants, and they're targeted. They have to be targeted and open to the public is what we're suggesting. So last year the board funded signature events at about $70,000, and I suggested $30,000 for a Merchants Association and other smaller events. And once you all provide direction, and I need direction tonight before we leave here, I can revise the funding request form that you can approve next month. And if the board feels that the yearly presentation that the organizations provide is helpful, that's great. It just seems like that's what you have always been doing for these past, almost 9, 10 years. Is that something that you want to continue doing? So the signature events could still come before you if you so choose, or the merchants who decide to have events can come to the board as these events occur. We can suggest different events for some of the retail stores, some of the restaurants that haven't had events. We can suggest to them what they could do, and we suggest 90 days before the event that they submit their application, and I can amend the form and bring it back to you. But what we're looking for tonight is your original thoughts. There could be pushback from the organizations if we do something different, but it's a board decision, and it seems like the past couple of years the board has wanted to do something different. In my mind, the board should fund both signature and merchant events, but we could come up with a pilot program. We can limit the amount of money per event per merchant, but the merchants could put on events that bring people into their stores. And We can accept proposals for creative ideas. And I just want to, ask for your guidance on how we should proceed as a board with a strategy for special event funding.
Okay. Thank you, Ann. So you can see this is an important agenda item. It's outlines, basically we're trying to determine if we're going to revise our strategy a little or not at all or a lot. We know that one of the members that's absent here, what his opinion would be, but he's not here. But just speaking for him, just so it's on the table, he would, as he has said many times, he would like to see a big portion of this 70,000 go away and be reallocated to something else. So there I said it for. I gave your positions, Stu. Now we have each of our positions on what we want to do. We have staff's recommendation. One of the questions we need to answer that's been posed is, okay, so every year we ask for these applications to be filled out, which we do need something in writing if somebody's going to request a grant from us. But what value is there in giving a 3-minute talk and having 10 people come up? Is that something that we really find important and valuable that we want to continue? Is it really fair to have somebody come and ask for $1,500 and talk for 3 minutes, and somebody else that's putting on a major signature event, or 10 of them, and they get 3 minutes? These are the kind of questions that would be good to think about right now, and I'd like to solicit your opinions on them. Lena?
I agree with that blended approach, because some of the most successful events in terms of very targeted results were held by merchants. Mm-hmm. But always keeping Stu in mind, I always feel like I have to justify my position and stuff. So if you don't want to be known as just handing out money for events, maybe we should explore, other options. Like there are initiatives that there are ideas out there that are simply not being put in place because they don't have the tools. So maybe we should be that venue. For example, in every successful downtown, there is a portion of it that's closed down for foot traffic. That is something that I've been looking into for this year as a merchant. However, what I'm being told is that it's an incredibly expensive endeavor for a merchant to absorb. Closing the 500 block, let's say, so it can join the 2 blocks on either side. You're talking about police, fire, parking, permitting. That's something that 4 merchants can't absorb every Friday. So maybe we can be a facilitator of that versus just an event, but actually be a facilitator of an ongoing project versus isolated events. This is just something to think about. Mm-hmm. How can we help revitalize downtown without just being confined to, funding events, which I totally support. Last Friday that just happened was the most successful. Everyone loved it. Every merchant was over the moon over it. So I'm not saying I don't like events. I'm just saying perhaps encompassing more of an active role rather than just handing out money. And instead of just always signature events that already have other sponsorships, perhaps think of the smaller, more targeted avenues.
Good. Someone else have something? Ben, go ahead.
Yes. So I think there should be an accurate division, maybe 70% to merchant events and 30% to signature events. And out of the 70%, because signature events, they can get the funding for any off-duty police or anything needed to do the event, but merchants don't have that money. So out of that 70% or 60%, whatever we agree, a portion of that should be also given to the off-duty police and any other expenses for the merchant to be able to do the event.
Okay, Thomas?
Let me get some clarification, because it's my understanding that we have a part of our budget that's dedicated for either promotion, marketing of downtown versus events. Is that correct?
It is. It doesn't have to be, but that's the way we've done
Okay.
it. Yes.
And we haven't used it, have we? It's not
Well,
something that we've been,
At the last meeting we did, didn't we allocate 25,000 of that?
Right, that was for the augmented reality, the tech art component.
So I lean in Stu's direction a bit here because I think we're trying to, turn the battleship around a bit. I do think the events are important, but I think that if we're going to make a statement and say, we're going in a different direction, if we can let the people know that have been promoters of events that the pool is very small this year, so your idea better be sharp, you better be able to produce a return on that because we're actually going in a different direction. So I don't want to say no to events, but I think we need to define what's going into marketing and promotion versus what's going into events.
so what direction are you suggesting?
I am in favor of more promotion and marketing. We've got a marketing person now on staff at the
Full-time.
CRA.
Full-time.
And I'm anxious, I haven't had a chance to meet with her, but I'm anxious to see what her ideas are. And I think she can put some structure around how much money we're going to need out of our budget for that. And I think that would be the priority that I would be in favor of, knowing how much is there. And then if there is, funds left over, then let the event operators, compete for that money.
Does the CRA have a budget for that, for the PR person? For Rosemary?
Yes, I think the CRA is going to fund a portion of what the DDB is also funding as far as
So it's
PR.
a matching thing?
I believe so, yes.
Ray, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I did notice that Blast Friday, not only was it very popular, it started a lot earlier. I mean, I left Station Square and it was 6 o'clock and it was busy.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, and only myself, I would prefer less events, but bigger and better, where they walk away going, wow, I was downtown, this thing really happened, Just my viewpoint on it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get that buzz factor. They got to go home and go, wow, I was there and this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So however we do it, blended or whatever, it's got to be bigger, more spectacular.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on that. I like what you say about the wow factor and so on. It would be nice if all of our events had that. But I also think that when somebody goes home with a wow because they were at a great event, that doesn't necessarily translate into them ever coming back till the next wow event. It doesn't cause a recurring visit to downtown to patronize the businesses of downtown, as far as I know. That's why I think we need a mixture of events. And staff has proposed that we go with a 70-30. Venkat, you went 30-70.
70-30%.
But it's the opposite. And now, I don't think that, see, the established signature events that we have, they're used to putting these events on. They're used to asking for a certain amount of money. They're used to getting some, either all of it or a little bit less. But that's a certain amount that we can pretty much take a calculator out and figure out how much they're going to ask us for. The other events that we're discussing now, the possibility of, is small, very, very low-cost events, but a lot of them. But we can't just say, let's put $30,000 and we're going to have $30,000 worth of events, because we don't know, we haven't identified who these people are, what each event's going to cost, how many of them there are going to be, and we don't want to just fritter away the money and then find out whether it worked or not. My approach to this would be, let's say that we allocate a certain amount of money towards this, but we don't award it, we just set it aside and say, we'll entertain up to that amount of money over the coming year for this type of thing. And if a certain restaurant or a certain business has a creative idea and brings it to us and says, it'll cost me $400 to put, to put on this event. Can you give us 250 of it or something? And we say, yes, we can stroke a check for $250 without a big risk. We'll see what the return is. We're not going to promise you 10 of them in a row. You do one, you do two, and if we think it's a good thing, then we'll say, okay, line up 6 more of them, or line it up every Friday, or whatever we think of it at the time. But that we take a conservative approach, but recommend that as many businesses as possible participate, because it would be nice to have a busker or a musician or something, an acrobat, just anything. I don't know. I don't want to limit it by my own lack of creativity, but by whatever's out there. If there was something going on in front of a storefront or a restaurant that would attract business to them, maybe we could budget $200 worth of Facebook ads or Google ads to drive customers to that location on, that Thursday night or that Friday night. If we spent $10,000 doing 50 of those events, I think we'd get more bang than we would out of getting $10,000 on one signature event, or maybe something similar. Each one wouldn't have the wow factor, but 50 of them might bring a large...
Well, the wow factor isn't just for that event. If I remember my marketing back in college days, which was a while ago, people go where they go. So if they go downtown 3 or 4 times a year, then that's where they're going to go. Let's see what's happening downtown. So it isn't just for that event, it's making downtown familiar. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's not this, it's great. It's, oh, look at the new things, Mm-hmm. Hey, we can hit the beach if we don't like it. It's just getting more people familiar with going downtown. And if I heard something was cool downtown, and I was some kid in Countryside, I'm going to check it out. Mm-hmm. Where else do you drive your new car to show it off? I mean, where else in Clearwater can you do it?
Yeah, we've got great curbs, curvy curbs.
Exactly. we got people sitting outside, you got people walking around downtown.
Right.
I just don't want anyone to dismiss the small events, because there are some returns that are just not tangible, but they're very real. A little guided tour for the Dali brought the Dali here for 6 months. The art walks brought artists to downtown and brought tenants to downtown. And those were from very small events of 100 people. But the return is not as tangible, but they're now tenants in downtown. They've come back, and they're also now involved in downtown because of that small relationship-based event. Mm-hmm. And it also engages the community. So I think a blend is very important.
Right.
I agree.
Let Caitlin in on the discussion.
So 2 points. One is kind of a question. I remember us discussing at one point the goal of having a budget look maybe mostly or majority of it towards events, but then a chunk of it was going to go towards hiring some sort of outside firm to figure out like a strategic plan. I'm not sure where we landed on that.
Strategic, I mean, a firm to do our events for us?
Marketing,
For marketing and...
For marketing, right. Is that now what's funding Rosemary, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Rosemary has been meeting with all of you, and she has yet to meet with Thomas.
But we aren't funding her.
No, you're
CRA
not funding
is paying
her
salary.
Yes, CRA is paying her
But we
salary.
basically got access to her at no cost. We solved that problem without a budget issue.
Okay. I was just curious kind of what the result with that, because I'm of the blended approach, and I think that I like the focus, having a focus on both more bigger events, but also the smaller events I think are very important, to Lena's point. But I would also like to see us be strategic in terms of what events are we looking for when people come and give us a request and we say, okay, this is exactly within our plan. And I don't know how we strategize. I can't speak to that. Mm-hmm. But I think coming up with a plan to be strategic in terms of which plans which plans we fund versus not fund would probably be something we'd want to do. And I don't have the expertise to say that. But secondly, to the point about procedurally, how do we proceed with the events and going through that process? What I've done in the past when I was in school and we were funding a whole bunch of events was we had a small committee of
people, whether they be on the DDB or they be people outside of it, who came and almost like workshopped all of the event requests and then came up with a proposal, which then would go before, in my case, it was before the government, the student government here would be before the board. And at that point, we've been able to kind of vet that pretty thoroughly, as well as look if it's occurred in the past, what was the return of investment, whether it be tangible or intangible, and you can kind of more thoroughly look at that versus if someone comes up here and speaks for 3 minutes and we kind of discuss it more in generalities. So that might be something where, because I don't necessarily want to say every event needs to have a post event and needs to have a whole bunch of paperwork where they go through analysis, because that creates more administrative work. And perhaps it's something that a committee could kind of take some administrative work and also to look and say, these types of events are helpful, and maybe that helps us come up with a strategic plan.
Mm-hmm. Do our ex officio members have any words of advice for us?
I think it's a good discussion.
It's a great discussion. I just don't know that this is one of those decisions you guys make. We support it from the other side. So, but no, I think it's a great discussion. I think there's very good points. Bottom line to me is, big, small, or otherwise, the more events we can bring into downtown, the more opportunity we have to bring people into downtown, cutting it to its core. So,
I think there's great value in somebody coming out of work or being downtown for any reason and coming out and hearing music playing on the sidewalk, or somebody driving by and seeing a little trio or a soloist doing something, or promoting it and saying that somebody of importance or talent is appearing at such and such a location and promoting it widely on social media. I think if we had 100 of those happening a year, like 2 a week.
Well, let's get the people putting more skin in the game themselves. Let's say we'll give you, but you got to match it or something.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think we want to fund anything entirely. I think we need to be good stewards of the money.
Well, this way they'll earn and they'll work harder getting the people in.
We want to help their events. We want to motivate them to put in the effort to have an event by offering a carrot saying, we'll contribute a certain amount of money towards your event. We don't want to fund your entire event.
And we'll let you do it again if you're successful.
Well, let me give you a tangible example. If we close this is the idea that we have. We have 3 merchants in the 500, but we're all open late. We're the only ones open late. We're open past 11 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. Saturday night's dead. We want music, but if we all hire a band, it's competing with each other. So we're all like, okay, who's going to hire a band this week? So it's a lot on us. So what we were thinking was, let's close the road every Saturday night. Have one band that's shared by all the merchants. We're willing to do that. But then you talk about road closures, permitting, and then you're talking about thousands of dollars a month. So that would be a great initiative for the DDB to support. The merchants will pay for the entertainment, but just support the permitting process and maybe, I don't know, prolong the noise ordinance. It is downtown. Like, I'm a proponent of that.
As long as they don't go to 2 in the morning.
No, midnight on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I live downtown, by the way, and I'm okay with it.
You're my neighbor.
I know. Just putting it on record.
Okay, so go ahead, David.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment to that because at one point we had discussed hiring some, not bands, but smaller, like a troubadour kind of guy that would, like they do at the beach. There's a guy plays a sax on a corner, another one plays the guitar. I mean, that kind of thing would give you the music without overpowering each other, like with a band. When we used to have the bands set up, you had to set them far apart from each other so they didn't conflict. But that was something I think we looked at on the DDB at one time, didn't we? Doing some events or weekend things like that, just to give downtown a little bit of pizzazz, you know? And it's not expensive to do that.
Yeah, I think, go ahead, Ed.
One of the points of our 18-month CRA strategy is to have a variety of events and not just music. So this would definitely support one of the CRA's goals. It sounds like the board wants to continue to support signature events. So can I take that as, yes, we can revise the application for the signature events? That, does the board still want to have the signature event producers come to them? Or is that something you just want to handle, email it, the board will review and discuss at the budget process?
No, I think they need to be here.
Yeah.
Okay,
You can
I
ask them
agree.
questions
You can
that
ask
way.
some questions. Okay, so on the second point,
Is that what you think, Caitlin? What's your opinion?
I mean, I'm fine with that. The way we did it, I mean, we don't have as many events that we were talking about as I did before, so we had to kind of cull through it. But, I mean, either way, it would either be a separate workshop where they would attend and only some people, or they would show up here either way.
Why don't we, let's just go through and see, what's your view on that?
On whether they should show up?
Yeah, do we want that meeting?
I want them because I want to be able to ask them questions.
Okay. Lena?
I do too. I was thinking though, perhaps not having a hard date. You know how everybody comes on one day? Perhaps have it an ongoing thing so that we might capture more people with better ideas, and we're not pressured to make a decision all in one day. I remember that day quite vividly. It was very long. So just open it up to the whole year and first come, first serve.
Well, yeah, there's,
What is
I kind of thought of that, but we also have statutory requirements for submitting budgets on certain dates. And right now, the timing is to have that happen just before we start our budget process, where something has to happen in July, another specific thing has to happen in August, and then we have those two meetings that formalize it in September.
So can we open
ahead,
up to 6 months so we can have?
well, what I could suggest is that the treasurer would work with staff to create the preliminary budget at for the June meeting that the board would have to approve. We would have the numbers from the property appraiser at that time as to the taxable value, and that could help you come up with your 30-70 or 70-30 amount for the signature events, and then also for it could be all, as you have in the past, future downtown initiatives. So to what you've been discussing as far as the smaller type events, if the signature event people come to you, say, in July, as they've always done, then you can ask the questions. And if the board chooses, maybe they follow Member Jamo's suggestion of having a committee. Maybe it's made up of one DDB member, one DCMA member that can help, look at those events that a merchant would provide to us. And then the board would have the final approval on which ones move forward.
Well, let's review the timing of it then. For us to pass a budget, let's work backwards from August is the meeting that we have to decide what we're going to allocate for each item, right?
Yes, but you could do your lump sum for, other downtown initiatives or, PR and marketing,
So for the statutory part, we could just have signature events, X amount, and then not necessarily have to have the meeting with them in any particular month. Is that, that's a workable approach then? Would that handle your concern? I think if we did space, instead of having one meeting where we had 10 presentations of 30 minutes, of 3 minutes each plus questions, if we spaced them out over several months,
It would be less arduous, and we could evaluate.
we could study each one more thoroughly, allocate more than 3 minutes, and we wouldn't have to make a decision on 10 things at once. So I think that's a good suggestion. What does everybody else think? Are we in agreement?
I think it's an easier process, but I also think that if the 10 greatest events show up all at different times of the year and the last event is the greatest of all and we're out of money, we have no way to compare what we've allocated so far.
That's a relevant point. How do we deal with that?
By informing them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if we make it clear, you know, here's our budget timeline, you know, you can apply at any point, but.
Who wants to rush to our meeting first?
But kind of give them the knowledge that if they, it's better to apply sooner rather than later, but if a new event pops up and it's great and we have the funding to provide for it, it allows flexibility, particularly when we transition from signature events to maybe the smaller events, discussing those. They may not, that may be something where they only have a 2-month lead time versus a bigger event.
I'm sorry?
We have a citizen who would, when you're done discussing, would like to make a couple of comments.
Okay. Now, so let's say, what if we, how about this approach? What if we said, okay, we don't want, is it the May meeting that we have everybody come, or June?
July.
July. What if instead of that we said, starting with the next practical date, either the April meeting or the one after that, that we will entertain up to 3 or 4 agenda items of people wanting to make proposals for signature events, and whoever comes to us in the first month and the next month and the next month, if we run out of money by the 4th month, we've run out of money. But if people come to us with proposals, we'll entertain proposals till we run out of money for that category of thing, for signature events. And if they all know that that's the rules of the game, then they have the opportunity to come and present a budget to us and apply for those funds. Meanwhile, we know which events are coming, so we don't have to arbitrarily give away all the money when we know that there's, you know, if Blast Friday hasn't come and talked to us, we still know that Blast Friday is going on.
Right.
We don't have to exclude it. Thank you.
With the board's 2 readings that they require, will this be what the board wants to follow as far as the process? In the past, the signature events were part of the budget process. If you're going, I would provide you with the application that we would revise in April to send out in May. Are we going to keep that into a different, are we going to keep that same timeline or do something different?
Well, let's think about that. There's 2 ways we could approach this. One is we could hear from somebody, we could discuss it, we could say, okay, we've heard your proposal, and at the August meeting, we're going to decide everybody's numbers and split it out, and you'll find out a few days after the August meeting. If it's a signature event that we know, you know, a year in advance that it's happening. Or we could just say, as we do those 3, we could decide those 3, and then the next month take up those 3 again and have a second reading and say, bang, bang, those are approved. We could do it either way. What do you think is more likely to work smoothly?
I mean, slightly different from what you were saying, but I think to address Ann's point, couldn't the budget line just be signature events? Yeah, we don't have to,
right.
So we don't have time constraints in terms of that.
I just want to know what you envision as the process.
Yeah, what would we tell them in terms of expectations on when we would tell them what's been approved? Do we want to hear from everybody we're going to hear from in the budget year before we decide on a signature event? Would that be more fair to do it that way? So if we're going to entertain 3 agenda items a month for 3 months, and we hear from 9 or 10 people, rather than announcing to the first 3 that you've already got your money, but the last 3 guys don't know until much later. What if we just said, okay, we've heard your thing, we've made our notes, and then at our August meeting, we'll make a decision, and everybody will find out after that.
I think that's a better way to approach it. You get a chance to see everybody's at the beauty pageant at that point.
We'll have the swimsuit competition right then, right? Does that make sense?
Okay, so I'll come up with some verbiage that will I'll get approved and we can alert our organizations that we have typically funded in the past of our new process.
That they can start appearing as early as next month,
Okay.
up to 3 or 4 if you get 4. Is that
Okay.
a reasonable number?
Yeah. Just, let me ask one more question. I'm looking at the budget and just totaling up marketing, that's 160,000. There's a couple of other items that probably should have been in that amount. Station Square Park events possibly. How much of that pie are we talking about allocating to events versus PR and marketing? That's my big question right now. I'm kind of speaking for Stu and me here. Because I think if we don't have that number and put that out, we'll get 10 to 15 people that want to do events, and there may not be enough money for that. I'm not sure which chicken or egg comes first here. But I think that's a question I have in my mind. How are we going to slice that?
That was going to be my next point, so thank you for the segue. What we need to decide, in this number here, we have about $50,000 allocated for public relations firm and the Art Tech exhibition. Right, so about 110,000 is for everything else here. And Anne's letter, or her submission at the beginning of this, was 70,000, 30,000 for signature events and the small proposals. So that adds up to $100,000, which fits in with this 160 number.
So, no, see, I thought the 100, we were talking about reallocating the 160. Because, I mean, we don't know yet from Rosemary whether, I mean, does 24,000 for public relations firm, web content, listserv, and video production, how far does that get us down the road? If we need 3 times that, I'd like to know that before we start listening to people come in and say, hey, I want to, bring the Clydesdales down Cleveland Street.
I want to bring the Clydesdales.
I would love that myself, yeah.
I do believe that the CRA was going to participate in the amount of funds that the public relations firm would cost as far as work with the DDB on being a part of that public relations firm.
See, I'm thinking it's gonna need to be a much bigger number.
Yes, yes.
Which says that there's not that much money to go around for the events. I'd like to get some clarification around
what we're going to do there. Let's say if we're dealing with a 160 number, and we want to divide that into 3 basic pies. One is this marketing PR segment, one is the signature events segment, and one is the small events segment. What's your recommendation on how do we split that pie? If the big number is 160, roughly, what amount would you want to put in each of those pies?
I first want to know what we need to do to make an impact with PR and marketing.
I
don't think we're going to know that till Rosemary comes to us with some proposals.
We'll be able to provide her recommendation. It might not be a firm, it might be an initiative, it might be...
Exactly.
Yes, and we will have that information once she meets with you all and is able to develop a budget, a recommended strategy for you all.
Yeah, all we can do at this point is earmark whatever we feel is just a number out of the air, whatever number we want to set
So
aside.
if we're changing the direction of how we're operating the Downtown Development Board for promoting downtown, my preference would be that the PR and marketing gets priority over, and then signature events and then smaller events. I can't tell you today one should get 70%, one should get 15 and 15. I just can't tell you that.
Well,
If you had to come up with a number, does anybody have a split that they would be willing to say out loud?
I wouldn't be able to say it right now because I'm not quite sure what the PR Rosemary's doing.
Right.
And are we duplicating it? How much is this a completely 50-50 shared effort? So until I fully understand the PR person's role and her initiatives, then see how we fit. Because, I mean, she might be doing all this stuff and then we're going to be duplicating it and maybe even sending the wrong message or veering off the message. We need to be really working closely
Right.
with her.
But I don't think Ann is asking for a number today.
Well, I made a recommendation, but it sounds like you don't want to assign a number, which is fine, because the approach that you want to take is to outline for the merchants and for the organizations, here's our timelines. We need you to apply to be at a meeting, to present what your next budget year request is. Apply sooner versus later, and we are going to be reevaluating our strategy, and we might not be able to provide you the exact funds that you're used to getting.
Right. So we don't have to today.
No, you don't have
August is when we're going to come up with that number.
No, this was very helpful, and I think I have direction, and we can move
Okay.
forward.
Now, do we have more comments on this side? I was kind of had my back to you, so I haven't seen any arms up. Okay. Anything else on this side here?
I'm good.
Okay, we had a citizen comment. Would you like to come up and state your name and your address and tell us what you'd like to tell us? Okay.
Not my address. My address is on here.
Okay.
My name's Lisa Lanza, and I just wanted to stop by because I think one thing with downtown Clearwater, I live up around Sunset and Hercules, is that the lack of consistency downtown. The one thing we know, you have the last Friday is the last Friday, so we know that, and we can depend on that. We don't always know who you're going to have, but we know there's going to be something. So we'll come downtown. But other than that, maybe you know something I don't know, there's a complete inconsistency about, and you constantly have to be checking, well, what's going on downtown? Like, for example, another example, I've been going to Merida, Yucatan for 50 years, and for that length of time, maybe I'm exaggerating, it might be 40, but for that length of time, every Tuesday night there's a dance at Santa Lucia, and you know that 6:30 on Tuesday night. You go downtown, it's just folding chairs set up in a circle. There's the live band, and then people come and dance, and then they eat either before or after. And I mean, for 50, I was just down there a couple of months ago, and it's, oh yeah, go down to, so Tuesday, and there's one at Santa Ana Square, and then they're on Thursday night, and one at Santa Lucia on Tuesday night. 40 years of this. And that's the kind of consistency that, you want. Like we were all excited, came downtown to an event, and it was canceled because of the weather. Well, that was the weather. It was in Coachman Park, that band that you were having. So I guess that was a beautiful day, but apparently the ground was wet, so they canceled the event. But it was disappointing. Like you want, just like Weaver Park in Dunedin, you know that every Friday at Weaver Park, there's going to be a sunset event. You can go to that, and then you can go downtown and eat, or go to eat and then go there. You're constantly changing up things, which maybe you think, but it doesn't help us that aren't following I'm speaking for myself. But I think that is why Blast Friday is so successful, because we know. Fourth Friday is Clearwater, second Friday is Dunedin, blah, blah, blah. I don't have them memorized, but we know that every city, of the 4 cities, one of them's having it one night, and we know last Friday, and Clearwater's Friday night. Okay, I guess that's, I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a while, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any comment or response?
I would just say that Ruth Eckerd Hall books the acts for Blast Friday, and that's done well in advance. So if you go to Ruth Eckerd Hall's website, you can find out who's playing at Blast Friday.
Yeah, I'm all aware of that. I'm very social.
But I just thought I heard you say you didn't know
No,
who was
I wasn't
playing.
talking about, well, okay, maybe you're speaking to the general public, but it's not, we don't even care who's playing. We just know that it's a place to go on a Friday night. It doesn't matter who's playing. Well, who's playing? Well, that's good, it's bad. 90% of the time it's someone good anyway, and it's free. Who's going to complain about free? You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter who's playing. Sometimes we'll go ride our bikes down here, we'll go to the beach for a little while, then we'll ride our bikes back over here, we'll hang around, we'll have an ice cream, we'll watch the band. It's a fact of the just like the movies on the beach. I don't actually go to them, but I know that it's consistent. I think it's Saturday night. I'm not really sure because I never go. But it's the whole thing about, I don't care who's playing, let's just go.
Your point is well made.
Thank you.
And I believe that consistency is important. What we're struggling with is we don't yet have a mix of events that we have identified that are successful that we can repeat over and over again. We're still searching for the right mix of events to have to revitalize downtown.
Well, this is different than city council meetings. Like, you've got a lot of senior citizen housing. I don't know how many around downtown Clearwater. 7, maybe more. There's a brand new one being built. I can guarantee you, well, I shouldn't say it like that, but it's a kind of an event, like the one in Merida, Yucatan. It's mainly elderly. It's a mix, but it's just a nice thing, on Tuesday night. They go down there, it's a live band, it's not hip hop, it's, nice music, and they dance together. I'm talking about dancing together. Salsa, waltz, the kind of things that elderly people enjoy. Like, we have to drive all the way down to the casino to go swing dancing.
Okay.
So even a swing dance, although that's, you kind of need a different, but they do have it, just to clarify, they do have it on cement in Merida, so you don't need necessarily a dance floor.
Great, thank you. Okay, Ann, did we answer your questions enough to proceed?
Yes.
Very good. Did anyone have any final comments or contributions to make? Very good. Let's leave this item and move forward. Thank you all for that discussion. That was some very good points brought up there. Okay, we're on old business items. This is, we're following the format of the new system that the city uses and now we're starting to use as the board. So we have here an update on auction for Jazz Holiday posters. Lena.
So we have we have about 12 posters, of which over 10 have a greater than $100 value because they're framed very beautifully. So it is now official. It's going to happen on March 23rd. I just got word that my really great saxophone player will be there playing live. And I'm going to be speaking with Gary to make sure that the verbiage is correct on the invitation, but it should be out by tomorrow. I will be using his email contest as well, and I will invest heavily in social media boosting and advertising, and I'll be using my millennial friend to do the Instagram because I just don't get that one. But I'm hoping for it to be a great event, and of course all the proceeds will come back to us so that we can duke it out some more on how to spend it.
Excellent. Any comments? Okay. Let us move on. Item number 5.2, DDB work plan updates.
Okay, thank you. I have not heard from any of the members about this month's work plan updates. Last month, I was absent, but I heard that Amanda shared with you that she met with the DDB attorney. We thought we'd have a memo from her at this time, but she unfortunately had some family issues and a crashed computer hard drive issue. So she promised me a memo. Once I get it, I will send it out to the board so you're aware of exactly what the board can and cannot do with changing the bylaws and the codes, and we can move forward from there. But if anybody has any work plan items that they need to discuss with me, please email me. I can meet with you, and we can go from there.
Very good. Comments, anyone?
Yeah, I have a question. You weren't here last time, but it sounded like Amanda sort of took control of the party for the demolition of the Harborview Center, which was a project that Caitlin and I were going to take care of. So do we have some responsibility to come up with $10,000 for that? Or are you guys taking care of that?
I think the city would gladly take the $10,000, but I'm not sure of the status of how that happened between Amanda and the folks that are actually creating the event for the demolition party. So I will have to get back to you on that. I don't know
Okay.
the answer to that.
Thank you.
I think the board members that were assigned to that can meet independently with Ann or talk to her independently. And
Do you have to publish that?
If both of you would like to meet with me, yes. One-on-one with me.
I think if we need to, we should do it soon because we're in March.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
so one of you at least at a
Okay.
time can meet with Ann.
Okay.
Okay. I will take that on, I'll contact you both.
Very good. We'll move on. Get to item number 6, the chairman's report. We have some upcoming events. This Saturday, March 9th, we have the PSTA Park and Ride. And I think it's been you mentioned it earlier, but we're going to have 2 muralists present from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Ye Olde City Hall. That's what it's called now. Ye Olde City Hall, Community Paint Day, and they're going to be painting something on the sidewalk, kids, whatever, and you can use that for free transport over to the beach. Friday, March 15th, we have the Downtown Clearwater Art Walk. Friday, March 29th, the community celebration for the demolition of the Harborview Center. And Friday, March 29th, we also have Blast Friday with the Rippingtons on Cleveland Street. Saturday, March 20th, we have the Iron Girl Half Marathon and 5K. And that completes my chairman's report. Item number 7, we'll hear from board members that have any final comments.
I think we're getting somewhere, and a lot of these people that want money, if we can steer them into we backing maybe half or helping them out financially, it would give us more events to do. Put the responsibility on them a little bit more. It would be more economical for us and allow us to have more events.
Dina?
Well, this has been a good month. Blast Friday, I want to again congratulate Capitol Theater on an excellent job. It was one of the most successful, and I heard only positive things. And the team, the volunteers worked extremely hard, and we, the merchants, appreciate every single thing that they've done. So kudos to Capitol Theater for being a great community leader. The Ring. The addition of the Ring, to me, signifies a positive direction of putting Clearwater on the map. It's innovative. I have an office there. We are having people from all over the 3 counties looking at spaces. It's going to put us on the map, and it's nice to be a leader versus reactive. So I'm very excited about that. Harborview going down is symbolic and is very important for the morale of downtown and the city. So I'm very excited about that. And another strong message was for merchants receiving the incentive plan. It sends a positive message that the city is working with the private sector in unison for the common goal. So I'm very excited and very encouraged.
I would like to echo your sentiments about the Ring. I went to the soft opening. It is spectacular. It's truly something that I've not seen before anywhere, and my hat's off to Daniels for what he's put into that floor. It's amazing. I have one more question about the Harborview Center. Now that it's coming down, I'd love to know what the date is that's actually going to be leveled. Do we have they have a point in time that's got to be done?
The only deadline I'm aware of, and don't hold me to this, but August 1st, it has to be, the site will be totally clean, the fill dirt will be installed, and grass put over it for the time being. I think it's August 1st, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong.
Does that include the parking lot as well?
I believe so.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So they're going to be mowing the lawn on the 7th on that site.
I'm not sure how much the grass is going down because
Yeah, the grass, it may not include the parking lot. I may be.
in that area where we're talking about the pavilion, I mean, that is going to be a sloped area, so they probably aren't going to put grass down until they get the grade fixed in there. but we're still in the process of talking about design on that. But it's important that we get things moving. So we're going to be talking tomorrow night about discussion about City Hall and when that demolition will take place. If it does, we'll be talking about it.
Good job.
I was there to the Ring preview party, and I think it's a beautiful and modern space, and hopefully it should have 100% membership, and we have more co-working spaces and more offices in downtown. With the band shell, I think the 2,000 to 3,000 retractable seating is a great idea, and I personally feel that the council should pass it. And then coming to merchant events, I think we should have more of the small merchant events too. That's it.
I echo what everyone said. I want to thank you for your comments. I think that shows that we're all kind of aligned in terms of our goal is for maybe every night of the week and specifically weekend nights for downtown Clearwater to be the place people want to go to. And I think we're just trying to be strategic in how we accomplish that goal. But I appreciate comments like that because it shows that that's your goal is our goal as well. So thank you.
Keep on plugging.
Good. David.
Same. Let's move things forward.
Right. So my final comment is that I'd like to echo the comments on the Ring and some of the other great things that have been taking place. There's a lot of potential plus points in what's happening right now. On these small events, I have actually been speaking to a couple of small businesses in the area about different things that we might try. And it's not just music, but the idea of, I can't really discuss specifics with them because they don't know that I'm going to be talking about it at this meeting. But there's some interesting ideas. We're trying to think outside the box on different types of events that we could host outside on the sidewalk, so that yes, we can't say that there's going to be a particular performer every Tuesday, but we want to create after a period of time as we work on this, that no matter when you come down on an evening in downtown Clearwater, you will hear music playing, you will see something happening. There will be something interesting to see and do on our streets. And if we can do that hundreds of times a year, that's better than doing. And we can still have half a dozen or 10 signature events. But if we can also fill it in with, say if we can get to 10 or 20 this year, 50 next year, and get it up to 100 to 200 events several years from now, I think that would be the ideal scenario where there's always something happening downtown.
Yep.
Okay. So with that, at 6:47 in the evening, declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.